welcome to the Port Center Connects podcast. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the podcast, and we are live in studio. Very excited. New York State Senator James Skoufis is here live. He's about to do an event right next door, and he made a couple minutes for us. Welcome.
Thrilled to be here. Yeah. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you.
Senator, it's not often you have a senator in the office here, so very cool. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
James,
happy start of school, everybody. First and foremost, right?
Yeah. Well, speaking of school, tell me what are you doing here? What's happening today?
This is the second time we're doing the second annual. I'm relatively, for those of you who don't know me, I'm relatively still new to representing this part of Orange County. I've been in the state Senate and the state legislature for 12 years now, but only the past, let's see, 21 months or so have I represented this community, because every 10 years they change the districts, redistricting. So this part of Orange County is relatively brand new. Thrilled to be here. We'll talk a lot more about what it means to represent this community. But so this is the second time we're doing, at the start of school, a backpack giveaway. And no matter what community you're in, we've got neighbors who are a little bit down on their luck and need some help getting supplies and backpacks to get their kids out and prepared for school. And so we're doing that again. We've got a lot of Port families who come, but also folks from the rest of Orange County who come. And we give away a couple hundred backpacks that we get donated and full of supplies. So we're doing that today at 4 o'clock at the Veterans Park down the road.
Nice. What a nice thing. Again, you did it last year. You couldn't ask for better weather today.
Yeah, that's right. Can't beat this.
So please come out if you are local. Again, Senator James Skoufis is here with us. But James, even giving backpacks out, reading your bio, education and schools is something that's very important to you. You're very focused on that. Tell me about why and where that came from.
Yeah, so all politics is personal in my mind. And the more you can personalize issues, the more passionate you become about them. And so, look, I've got a 3.5-year-old right now. And so early childhood education has been, even more so now, super important. Universal pre-K, making sure every district has full-day kindergarten, which we did several years ago. Some districts still had half-day kindergarten in New York State. We fixed that. Wow. But certainly for myself growing up, I come from the projects in Queens and Flushing, came up to Orange County, Woodbury with my family when I was in elementary school. And like a lot of families, we worked our way into the middle class. And I was very fortunate at the end of high school to have the opportunity to be able to go to college. I got good grades at Monterey Woodbury, opened some doors for me, and went down to DC, went to George Washington University, got my master's after that at Columbia University, and it prepared me for the rest of life. And so I certainly, I think, am a living, breathing example where neither my parents went to college, neither my grandparents didn't go to college. I'm the first one sort of in my direct line, my family, to go out and do this. And look, college is not for everybody. You can be successful without college, but if you want to do certain jobs in society today, you've got to get a degree. And so for those who are looking to do that, hoping to do that, work hard, and you can do that, and you will do that. And certainly, I think I'm living proof of it.
Wow, I'm great to hear your story. I say a lot of times you could be highly qualified, you got to be highly certified, and that degree means a lot. Again, the first one in your family, did school come easy to you? Like, did your parents, we talked off air, you're from Greek background, did your parents push education, or was it something that you said, hey, this is my road, I could see me going somewhere with this?
It was definitely instilled in me. And from basically the very start, both of my parents, my family, they were very invested in me being successful in school, making sure even when we didn't have a lot of money, that the little bit of money that at times we had was invested in my education and made sure that I had the tools necessary to hopefully succeed. And so I was, yes, there's hard work, but I was very fortunate too. I had supportive parents, supportive family that helped me along the way. And, some families and households that exists, unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. And it is important that you have, that work ethic. And if it's not there, just remind yourself that doors open for me if I work hard, I'm dedicated. I was very fortunate, though.
Absolutely. Did GW, so when did you start thinking about, I could see myself speaking. I could see was that in high school? Did you start thinking about that, or when you got to GW, it got your attention?
Yeah. So it was in high school that I knew I wanted to do something in government, in politics. You could do a million different things
Yeah.
in this space, right? You can run campaigns. You can work as staff. I've got 12 staff in our state Senate office. You could be a staff member to an elected official. You could do policy at a think tank. You could work at a not-for-profit that works on issues that work with government. Or you could run for office, right? And so there are a lot of different things. I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly. I knew I wanted to do something in that space. And so, I studied the political science track when I got to
That
college.
was your major?
That was my major. I was in probably the best city in the country to do that kind of work. Every semester I interned, I worked, helped me pay for college a little bit, and also got me experience. And by the way, all experience at that level when you're in college interning is good experience. There were internships where I didn't love the work, but you know what? It was then instructive to me. This is not something I want to do for the rest of my life, and I can cross it off the list. So even when you've got an internship, or you're volunteering, or you're working during college or high school, and you don't love what you're doing, that's instructive and helpful information too. And so I did all that. And DC is a phenomenal city, even if you're not into politics. It's a really cool place to spend a few years and live. And so I did that, then came back home. And was actually commuting from my dad's place to Columbia when I was doing school there. Saved a lot of money on room and board, and then moved back up to Orange County when I got done with that degree. So full circle, I'm back in the place I call home and representing this community. There's no greater privilege. The community that I grew up in, that gave so much to me here in Orange County, I'm now able to serve in my new capacity. So I'm thrilled.
That's awesome. Did you think about staying in DC? Like, again, being right there in Washington, DC, the White House. And did you think about staying, or you kind of said, I want to be in New York? I mean, I can hear your accent.
Yeah.
I can feel like I'm with a real New Yorker here. It's nice.
Not hardly for a minute did I think about, and this is the truth, staying in DC. I wanted to come back to New York. I love New York. My family's here. And so I'm blessed to be back and serving my community that I love, that again, gave so much to me. But no, I love DC. Maybe many years down the road, I'll find myself back there in some capacity. But after college, during college, now I want to be here. This is home.
Nice. And are you more in Cornwall and Orange County area, or are you more in Albany, or is it 50-50?
So this time of year, I'm mostly here. Our legislative session is based in the first half of the year, January to June. Then my presence in Albany is more sporadic. So I'm working out of our local office, which is here in Orange County. In Cornwall, we've got another sort of satellite office in Middletown. I can't count the number of times I've been in Port Jervis over the past year and a half.
You've been here a lot.
I've been here a lot. And I'll tell you, coming into this community when I was, looking to represent the Port Jervis area and Western Orange County, more regionally here, the message I got from a lot of people was that they felt as though their federal and their state elected officials, this was the sort of forgotten land. Western Orange County and Port Jervis specifically.
The mountain separates.
And look, I live out on the eastern part of the county. I'm new to representing this area, but I'll be damned if anyone thinks that I have forgotten about Western Orange County and Port Jervis. So I've made it a point to be here as often as I can. I think I've lived up to that. And we'll talk about some of the things I've worked on in the city and in the community. But I'm thrilled to be back here another afternoon. And again, I can't count the number of times I've been in this great city.
Well, I don't want to make you nervous, Senator. My mother-in-law, Patricia Grimes, is watching. So he's here, Mom. He's a good guy. So again, we're giving out backpacks right across the park, 4 o'clock. So come out. All are welcome. And this is a great program. James, as a senator, you're always on, right? I leave Port Jervis. I can kind of go home. I can kind of you don't punch out. There's no clock. How do you distinguish between, all right, now I'm just James Skoufis, I'm going to put my feet up and watch TV, versus are you a senator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Can you
Well,
turn
look,
it off?
I do sleep, and so I guess I'm not doing Senate stuff when I'm sleeping. But even when I go home, I'm texting mayors and supervisors and superintendents, and especially when we're like negotiating a budget, end of session, when we're passing hundreds of bills. It's important to not turn off during those key moments, right? Because I'm getting dozens and dozens of calls on in the span of a few hours, people asking me questions and pushing me to vote this way and do this bill, and so look, yes, of course there are times where I pull the plug and I decompress. And I carve out family time, very important, especially this past summer, before it gets too crazy close to the election. After session, the first 6 months of the year, you got a little window, do some traveling, recharge. But it's not 24 hours, but sometimes it's 15, 16, 17 hours during sort of these peak moments. And look, people rely on not just me, but my office for, take COVID. There were literally thousands of people right here in Orange County who could not get a call back from the unemployment office when we were shutting down every business and putting people out of work. They couldn't get a call back, and they've got to feed their family, they've got to pay bills, put kids through college, and they couldn't get an unemployment check. And our office, literally around the clock, we helped, I think it was 4,000 or 5,000 constituents get their benefits that they deserved. And so during those types of stresses, during those types of emergencies especially, we are around the clock. But look, I love the job. Hopefully people can tell, 12 years in, I haven't lost the energy. I haven't lost the love for this job. And so, yes, there's on and off. If I'm going to the supermarket and picking up something for dinner to bring back home, people stop me in, the aisles and ask me questions. That's great. I love it. I'm not frustrated by it. But certainly, when I'm home, there are times where okay, I got to turn off my phone and, catch my breath. And that's a normal, I think, human response.
When your daughter gets old, it's like, Dad, come on.
Right.
Former Mayor Kelly Decker's watching, giving you a shout out. Kelly's done a lot.
Love Kelly. Yeah.
A lot for our town. James, you say you love the job, and I can tell there's an energy here. What are some things you really like? And then what is like, oh my God, I got to do this again? What are some things that are really attractive about the job itself?
So the two things I like the most are, one, I get to meet so many people. I represent over 300,000 people. Everyone's got a different story. Everyone's got a different life. Everyone's got a different background, different family situation. Some people, they come and approach me when they need help with something, this challenging situation in life. And other people, they're great. And it's just wonderful to meet them and hear their story and what's on their mind. I get to meet so many people. Just before here, I was talking with the senior club in the town of Warwick, and we have Q&A whenever we have these kinds of events, and so that's fantastic and refreshing, meeting people all walks of life. And the second, and this I think dovetails into, again, education again, I love learning. And I learn something new every single day in this job. On Monday up in Albany, I might be dealing with taxes. On Tuesday, I'm talking about healthcare. On Wednesday, I'm talking about education. On Thursday, I'm talking about the environment. On Friday, I'm talking about, some other infrastructure, roads. And every single day, I'm learning something new. I'm discussing something new, working on something new. And that diversity of work is really refreshing and keeps me going too. So those are the two things I love the most. And the most challenging thing, and I'll be frank, is every 2 years you've got to run an election. So the terms are 2 years. I look at some other elected officials, they've got 4-year terms, they've got 6-year terms. I'm so jealous of those politicians who've got those longer terms. And we're in one of those districts. That's the exception, not the rule, when it comes to politics. 90% of my colleagues are either Republicans in very Republican districts or Democrats in very Democratic districts. And maybe they have a first tough election to get in and then never have a tough election ever again. We're in one of those swing areas that, sometimes there's Democrats representing this part of the world and sometimes they're Republicans. I've been very fortunate. I've yet to lose an election in the 12 years I've been running, 15 going back to my days on the town board. And, but I've got to run these races. Fortunately, there are a lot of Republicans who have placed their faith in me and support me. They cross over. Just yesterday, I met someone else. I get this all the time. You're the only Democrat I vote for every 2 years. And I take that to heart. That means I'm doing, I hope, a good job for everybody, not just people depending on what party they're in. And, God willing, I'll be able to do it for at least another couple of years.
So is it this November?
This November.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we appreciate a few minutes here. And again, they get to know you. This will be on record so people can see it. James, another big part of the job is speaking. You just
Yeah.
mentioned about texting and communication, and I know there's a lot about body language and communication, but like the power of speaking, your presence. Is that something you had to work on? Were you always a good speaker? Did you at GW practice your speeches? How do you like speak, and how do you prepare, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question, and like a lot of things, if it doesn't make perfect, practice does make a lot better,
Oh, yeah.
and this is no exception, right? And so I hit my awkward phase kind of early in life, like middle school. I looked and sounded and whatever awkward, and that lasted for a while, more than I would have liked. And so I was a shy guy for a while, and I was certainly not good at public speaking. And it's something that I just acquired. It's a skill like anything else. You've got to do it. You've got to practice. And if you look at tapes probably on YouTube from 12 years ago when I started in the assembly to now, I think I'm probably a better public speaker now because I've been doing it for 12 plus years, even before I took office, talking to groups. And it's a skill, and it does not come automatically. You've got to work at it. You've got to leave your comfort zone, like a lot of different skills. Got to leave your comfort zone for a while to acquire that skill. And I think now, am I perfect? No, but I'm certainly a lot better than I was 12, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Kelly Decker again is watching. Kelly's a master storyteller. Kelly, when he teaches, and a tremendous speaker. Do you prepare, so you look at your schedule? All right, I'm going to be in Warwick. I'm going to be in Port. Like today, you're probably going to have to say something. Do you have index cards? You just kind of in your head? How do you, how do you prepare for these things?
Yeah, so it depends what kind of remarks it is. And so if it's sort of a more formal speech where I'm at a podium and it's part of a program where I'm presenting an award to somebody, sometimes I'll have prepared remarks.
Got it.
And my staff works on that. Then I take my editing pen, my red pen, and I
got a red pen?
In large part, I write a lot of my own formal speeches. But that's the exception, not the rule. I'd say 90+%, 95% of my speeches, so to speak, and remarks are contemporaneous. They're not coming from prepared sheets of paper. And in those cases, if I know I'm going to be speaking, I'm driving over to something, I'll go through some of the sort of top line remarks in my head as I'm in the car driving over to where I'm going, and then I'll just fill in the gaps. I think the most powerful kind of speech is one where it seems as though it's coming naturally, right? And so I always prefer to not give prepared remarks because you're able to connect better with people if they feel that it's coming organically from you, from your brain, not from a sheet of paper.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Now back to your election again, November. Everyone, the presidential, all that kind of stuff. Do you have to do debates like we watch on television?
I'll do at least one debate, and there's always at least one debate that we get involved in, and that'll
formal suit.
Yeah. Moderator, and that usually happens in October, closer to the election. But yeah, we run all campaigns, and I apologize in advance for flooding people's mailboxes in the coming couple of months with mailers and things like that. But this part of the job is it's necessary, and it's part of democracy. You've got to explain to people why they ought to keep you in office if you're running for re-election. But the campaigns sometimes devolve into instead of being able to talk about issues, it becomes snippets and talking points and sound bites. And I'm someone that really enjoys and prefers substance and having a fuller debate about issues, and not trying to get into tit for tats with sound bites against other candidates who maybe are steering into negative campaigning terror. That's the kind of stuff I don't like. I think most Americans and most New Yorkers don't like that kind of stuff.
Agreed.
But we see it inevitably almost every campaign.
Agreed. Well, good luck there.
Thank you.
We're here in Port Jervis again. We're giving out backpacks in just a half hour here. So please come out. But James, you've made it a point to come to Port Jervis. You've done some good things. You helped us get a $92,000. I don't want to use the word grant. If it's not a grant, I don't know, but $92,000 for school safety. And we're literally putting in the key swipes in the new building right now. You have advocated for schools. How does that feel to kind of see that work you did And now it's happening. Like
Yeah.
our assistant superintendent for business said, "Hey, you make sure you thank him because we've got this in Port Jervis because of you."
I appreciate that. And it's always at the very end of the process when the thing materializes
Yeah.
that it always feels really good, right? Because sometimes, these grants and funding, and whether it's in the budget, whether it's outside the budget, there's a bureaucracy that's involved with, getting the funding. And then a year later, maybe you get the check, and then you've got to start doing the work and the installation of whatever you're doing. And so it's at the very end where you see, okay, this is the fruit of the labor. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so whether it's school safety here in Port, we've done a lot in this city, working with Kelly Decker, working with the current new mayor, who I've got a great working relationship with, Dominic. And by the way, different parties. I don't care what party you're in. If you care about the community that I care about, I want to work together with you. And we've had that wonderful relationship here in Port and in most places throughout Orange County. And so, we've worked on $400,000 for the West End Park, the beach, that got a big renovation maybe about a year and a half ago. They're very soon coming big improvements to the Veterans Square Park right down the street here with funding that our office was able to acquire, working with Kelly Decker. We just, more recently, we've got a big sum of money coming for upgraded crosswalks with the push buttons to allow people to cross the street more easily. And certainly the state, I can't take all the credit for this, small role, but the state recently provided a downtown revitalization initiative grant to the city of Port Jervis here, $10 million. This is transformational stuff.
Yeah.
And the key takeaway that I want people watching to hear and to bring back to your neighbors and your family is, this is a special time to be living in this community. Because I think for maybe the first time in a long time, you all know and have known that this is a really special place, Port Jervis and the school district and the city. But I think a lot of other people outside of this community are starting to realize this is a special place, and we're investing in the Port Jervis School District and the community. And that's the state, that's the federal government, that's other folks in the rest of Orange County. I think, there's this great awakening to how cool of a community this community is. And I'm really just blessed and delighted at the same time to play a role in part of that revitalization.
Yeah, it certainly is. I second everything he's saying, and to be part of the school district that's making those gains. We got our new school opening 100%. So thank you for that. Again, school safety. There was unfortunately a shooting in Georgia today. Just heard 4 people have been announced dead, and we are very pleased and happy to be putting these safety protocols in. So Senator Skoufis, while again you have an year here in Port Jervis, what's your message to our students? You started with that, greeting them, welcoming. What's your message to our students here in Port Jervis as they start school this year?
Yeah, I'd say 2 things. One, school can, and look, no matter how smart you are, no matter how talented you are, there are days, there are weeks, there are moments where you feel down, whether it's academically, back home, or otherwise. You're asking yourself, why am I doing this? This is awful. And my first message is stick with it. Because if you don't, there's a price to pay later on in life. But stick with it, because as I said before, you do it and you work hard and you're dedicated, you get past those bumps, doors open for you in your life. And look, it may seem like, your teenage years, and it's natural. And I felt the same way. Your teenage years are your years in high school and middle school and elementary school when you're a little bit younger. That may seem like this is the entire world. This is my entire life. There's a long life and a lot of world that awaits you after school. You got to stick with it and do it right. And the second is, be kind to people. Be kind to people. And look, whether I see it in politics, but just go on Facebook, go on social media, and you see that there is this dearth of kindness. Why aren't more people kind to each other? Yeah. When you're generous, when you're thoughtful, when you're nice to, whether it's a classmate, whether it's to a teacher, whether it's to your neighbor, niceness, I think, begets niceness. If you're nice to someone, they're more likely to be kind and nice to somebody else. Agreed. But the other thing is, it feels good to be generous and kind to other people. You do it enough, you feel better about yourself. And so, I guess those would be the 2 messages that I'd share with anyone watching and listening here.
Awesome. Again, Senator James Skoufis, appreciate a few minutes. We're going to pop over to the park here this afternoon. This has been fun.
This has been great.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
Senator Skoufis, anything else you'd like to say? Anything else you'd like to share?
The only thing I say is thank you, gratitude for anyone listening for affording me the opportunity to represent this great community. I like to think that I work hard. I do my best to represent this community well, but you've placed your faith in me, and for that, I'm extremely, extremely grateful and look forward to continuing great work with folks like yourself, your administration, your superintendent, your mayor, everyone involved in this wonderful community. I'm privileged to do it. Thank you.
Senator Skoufis shared about his journey, again, a first in his family to go to college, Monroe Woodbury grad, went on to GW. So just want to take a moment to thank our teaching staff, our support staff in our schools here, because again, you look at what Senator Skoufis has done with his education, and all of our educators here in Port Jervis, we are grateful for them. There are a lot of hardworking people who invested their lives teaching and working here. So we're very grateful. So just a shout out to our teaching staff. I know you had a lot of people that have helped you on the way.
Absolutely.
I got a couple more for you.
Okay.
Leadership. You are a true leader here in the county, in the state. It comes down to leadership and working in our communities. How do you work on your leadership? How do you do that with going to all these places and all these things? How do you wake up and say, "All right, I want to be a better leader today"? How do you continue to grind and work on your own leadership?
Yeah, so I think beyond the couple of obvious characteristics that you should internalize as a leader, being honest, working hard, etc., I'd say a couple things. One, do more listening than you do talking. And you see a lot of so-called leaders who all they do is talk and they don't listen. At the end of the day, I represent over 300,000 people. I am, in my mind, I think I'm right about this, only able to effectively do my job if I know what's on the mind of those 300,000 plus people. And the only way I find that out is by listening to them, not telling them what they ought to be thinking or ought to be doing, listening to them about what I should be doing, what I should be thinking, and how I should be representing them up in the state legislature. So I think listening is an underrated attribute of being a leader. And the other is, I mentioned it before, I referenced it, I am willing to work with anybody that's willing to work with me on projects, on initiatives, on any efforts to better our shared community. I don't care what party you're in. I don't care if you're older than me. I don't care if you're younger than me. I don't care what your background is. If you care about this community and you're willing to work with me, I want to work with you. And I think that's an important trait of any leader, is not just leading for some. People elect you to lead everybody in your community and do your best. And so that's what I've tried to do.
Yeah, I love those words. I love that that mindset. Even just talking to you, I could see you as I was asking the question. You were really grabbing it. I do a lot of podcasts, and sometimes I ask the question, and the person didn't even come close to answering it. So well done here. This is Senator James Skoufis right here in Port Jervis. We do have to get across the street now. We're going to start that backpack giveaway in here in just a moment. So I appreciate your time here today.
Always a pleasure.
Good luck.
And have me back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This
is great. This is great.
Again, the election's coming up in November, but we appreciate the support, as we say here in Port, support with the work you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good things are coming here in Port Jervis. So, James, we like to end our show with our tagline here, Go Port. So can you give me a Go Port?
Go Port.
All right, we're going to sign off here on the podcast. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Again, Senator James Skoufis here giving out backpacks. So we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody. Let me get this thing queued up, and we're going to sign off. Keep rolling, friends. Have a great rest of the first week of school.